Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I'm going to build this plastic British 25 pounder and Morris quad tractor in 15mm scale recently released by the Plastic Soldier Company. I've been excited about this kit ever since I heard about it, and now I've finally got it, I had to build it right away. As you can see, the front of the box has some artwork of the 25 pounder in action, with the limber and quad tractor in the background. The back of the box has side and top views of the entire set. There's also a painting guide with suggested Vallejo paint colours, and of course a list of what the box can make. We could read that, or we could look in the box. There is a total of 8 sprues in this box. There are 4 of these sprues, one to build each Morris quad tractor. There are not a lot of parts to these. What parts there are look very nicely detailed and well moulded. There's obviously going to be some mould lines, but they're barely noticeable. These parts look like they'll go together really quickly and easily. The quad tractor can be built with either a hard top roof or a soft top, which is nice. It's good to have options. In addition to those, there are 4 of these sprues full of guns, gun carriage and limber parts, and also crew figures. Like with the quad tractor, everything here is pretty nicely detailed and well moulded with minimal mould lines, and I didn't see any errors. There are quite a few options for the guns and gun carriages here, which makes sense. They are, after all, the main part of the kit. Something I like about this kit is the crew. They're a bit out of focus, but they also look to be nicely moulded. What I like about them is there's 2 entire crews. One suitable for the desert with their sleeves rolled up, and one more suited for Northwest Europe. Some of these figures are a single piece, but most are multi-part. They look reasonable to me, but I'm not going to be looking at them in this video, mostly because I decided to build my guns in transport mode. Not really sure how that will affect their use in games of Flames of War, and I might still paint the crew figures when I paint the guns anyway. In addition to the plastic, there is a set of instructions to aid you on your journey through assembling this kit. These are reasonably in-depth while still being easily understood and followed. There's colour coding for the gun parts to help you choose correct parts for whichever variant of the gun you want to build. There are 4 variants. There are no decals in this box, though I'm pretty sure most of the stuff in the box can be painted up just fine with no markings at all. I'm going to start building this with the Morris quad tractor. You start by gluing the wheels on, of course after removing any mould lines and sprue gate remnants. These are obviously quite easy to position. The axle goes into the hole on the back of the wheel. Simple. The fit was a little bit tight, and I found I had to apply a bit of pressure to get the wheels all the way on. Do be careful with this. I almost bent one axle right off, and that would have been quite annoying. Eventually you'll end up with something that could be a roller skate for a giant. Next comes the floor part of the truck, with the mudguards. There's a kind of keying at the front where the engine would go. This ensures an excellent fit. You can see I didn't trim the remains of the sprue gates here. Don't worry, I fixed it after I filmed this step. Be careful not to break off the towing hook. We need that for towing the gun. Now to build up the body of the tractor. I start by gluing on the sides. This is rather easy. The narrow engine bit goes towards the front, which is the end without the towing hook, obviously. And it just kind of slots into place. There are guides on the inside of the wheel arches that help with proper positioning. Next comes the front, which includes the windshield. Apply glue and then slot the part on. It would be very challenging to put this on incorrectly. It looks pretty good. There are some tiny gaps, but they're mostly in places where the real thing had gaps too. The rear is just as easy to glue into place. You would really have to put in some work to do this wrong. The result is a nice looking body. It just needs a roof. There's a choice of a soft top, which is the 2 parts on the left, or a solid roof, which I have chosen to use. There are a whole lot of tabs on the inside here to which you can add glue. These should make for good, strong bonds. Then the roof simply slots into place. There's a bit of a gap that I'm not sure should really be there, and there's a small flaw on the right side above the door. This was the same on every solid roof on all sprues in the box. It's a bit annoying, but I suppose it could be passed off as battle damage. It's a minor complaint anyway. Then, to stop the front of the vehicle looking so much like a pig snout, I glue on the radiator. It's keyed so it goes on nice and neat. Then, as a final touch, I add the spare wheel. There's nothing to guide this part, so I just tried to get it on as neatly as I could on the rear slope of the roof here. It looks quite wheelie. Some might say wheelie good. Not me, I would never make a joke that bad. And that's the quad tractor complete. It was nice and very easy to build. Next, I move on to the Limbus. I start by gluing on the wheels. This shouldn't be too hard, though the fit is again quite tight, and I had to apply a fair amount of force to get these all the way on. Be careful not to break the axles when doing this. Eventually, I got them into place without breaking anything. Then, the upper half of the limber can be glued to the lower half. The parts have a keying that makes it obvious which way around the wheel portion should be facing. It's almost complete already. I then glue on the rear panel with the doors that allow access to the ammunition. This goes on just as easily as you would expect. There's a slot for the mudguard that will ensure you put the part on the right way up. Next, the other end. This part also slots right into place and there's a slot cut out for the mudguard. You'll know if you're trying to put this on wrong. Now all that's left is to add the towing things. You probably wouldn't be surprised to learn that these are very easy to get into place. Of course, it's probably a good idea to make sure the loop on the end of this part is aligned the right way, especially if you want to model it connected to the tractor. To finish the limber, I glue on the towing hook the gun will connect to. The fit on this is tight, and rather than risk breaking the hook part by pressing it on, I used some pliers to apply the force and push the part all the way into place. It looks very hooky. And that's the limber completed. The little tray at the front of the limber looks kind of incomplete. I guess this is a place to put stowage like ropes and bags. Unfortunately, nothing like that is included in this kit. On to the gun. I'm going to make the muzzled 25 pounder on the Mark IV carriage, so this is the gun part that I use. I drilled out the end of the barrel because flat barrel ends just don't look right. I glue the barrel to this thing. I don't really know what you might call this. I'm going to call it the axle and gun holdy part. The fit is a little tight, but not as bad as the wheels on the limber and tractor. This should be attached with that triangular protrusion pointing towards the gun breech. Next, I glue on the other half of the axle and gun holdy part. That would make sense, wouldn't it? It would look really silly with only one half. It goes on just the same as the first half. You might find you need to apply a little bit of pressure. Also, it's a good idea to decide on how elevated you want the gun barrel to be before the glue on these parts has a chance to set. I then glue on the gun trails. This slots into the axle-y gun holdy part nicely, and it would be hard to get this wrong. I'm using the gun trails with the straight arms, because that's what the instructions said were appropriate for the Mark IV carriage. There's also a set with bent arms. Of course, check with the instructions to see which is appropriate for your gun. Also, be careful not to break off the towing ring bit. Next, so the gun can be moved, I add wheels. Like with the rest of the wheels, these are also a tight fit, so be careful when applying pressure to them. Now we can take our gun with us everywhere we go. Hooray! Then I add the gun shield. There are 3 to choose from, so be sure to pick the right one. It just slides on over the gun like so. You can kind of see here where the gun carriage fits into the recesses in the back of the gun shield. This was easily done. Next, I glue the base and its hanger part together. This is pretty easy. I let the glue set, and then glue that assembly into the bottom of the gun carriage. It slots in pretty neatly between the gun trails, though I found I had to use my knife to make tiny little adjustments to get it into the right position. I've obviously decided that I want my guns to be in travel mode, so the base is up against the carriage. If you wanted it to be in firing mode, the base would go under the wheels. And with that, the 15mm scale British 25 pounder and Morris quad tractor kit from the Plastic Soldier Company is completed. Well, mostly. I have not built the crew. I'm not entirely sure what I will do with the crews. I think I might need the crew on a base with the gun for use in Flames of War, so I might do that and magnetize the guns to the base or something. Obviously no bases are included with this kit, so I'll see about that when the time to paint the model comes. I like the idea of having the model built up in transport mode. I might just base them like that anyway, and anyone that complains about it be damned. Maybe I'll put the tractor on its own base or something like that. Anyway, I think this is a really good kit. It was really easy to build and it didn't take a long time at all. The instructions were clear and easily understood. The mold lines were minimal and almost non-existent. Detailing is very nice and crisp. The only flaw I encountered with this kit was that little imperfection on the right side of the roof. Also, the wheel parts are a little bit tight and there's a risk of breaking the axles when applying pressure to get them on, but I'm not really sure that's much of a flaw. If you're concerned about it, you could shave down the axles a little bit with a knife to make them fit easier. Other than that, I have no complaints and am really happy with the results of this build. It's a really nice looking model. Well, the quad tractor is kind of ugly, but that has nothing to do with the model. I feel like it's an accurate representation of the tractor, limber, and gun. For those not into 15mm scale models, I believe this is also available in 72nd scale. I assume the model is pretty much exactly the same and would go together the same way in that scale too. A great addition to a British force in either scale. So, what do you think? Did you back the Kickstarter for this kit? I didn't because I didn't have the money at the time, but I kind of wish I did. Have you got this kit? Built it yet? Are you excited for the possibility that Battlefront will be doing a plastic 25-pounder too? Let me know in the comments below, along with any other questions, suggestions, and other comments you might have. Also, don't forget to do all the other YouTubey things like clicking like if you liked the video, subscribing, sharing, and so forth. If you really like the things I make, please consider helping to support the channel via Patreon. Patrons get to see my videos a little bit earlier than everybody else, in addition to some patron-only bonus content. If you want to check that out, there's a link in the description and on screen now. As always, I shall return soon, so until then, happy modelling and thanks for watching. Farewell.